I'm heading home to interview Karl, a family friend from my hometown. He's 88 years old, and I'll be asking him about how mass media has changed and been used throughout his lifetime.
Well, if I go way back, it would have to be the time of radio, and that's about all we had. And my early recollections would be about reports that we would get about World War II, and that would be from the AM radio, and that had happened probably later in the day. That would be some of my earliest memory of how things were reported on, whether it be, most of it was from a positive standpoint. About 1943 on, I would have been 6 years old, and again, first grade in a country school. We were, of course, told some of the events through what we call the weekly reader, and that was kind of like a little newspaper that would be put out for country school kids, and that would have been from first grade on through basically in 45, that's when World War II was over. I'd have been 8 years old, and I think 7, 8 years old, I still have some pretty fond memories of some of the things that we did and heard or read about in case of this weekly reader. So the early part of my life, radio, and then of course we always had the newspaper that would come, that was called the La Crosse Tribune. That was our local newspaper outlet. And then we had another newspaper called the Houston Signal that come once a week. Those were newspapers that would also give us a little bit of a uptake of what was going on in the world at that time. When I got into town school, then from then on through my high school years, we're still limited to newspaper and radio, because nothing beyond that had progressed, and at least in my memory, probably word of mouth more so than even newspaper, because word of mouth was a way of getting information around too, and it wasn't always coming through the radio or newspaper. But the first TV that I had in our home was probably after my own, after we were married and I were married. We had a little old black and white TV that wasn't very, it wasn't very clear. It was hazy, but it was something different than what we'd ever had before. Yeah. And that made it unique. Whenever we got to watch TV, it was usually kind of a special time, because it wasn't something that we had on a daily basis, not until way later in life. Well, I think one of the biggest things would be having a computer and the internet. At first, I was almost scared of using it because I thought I might make some mistake, and it was something completely new. And then as things progressed, I now use it for not only getting information about my family, but I now have it for getting information about maybe some part that I'm looking for an old car, and the sources that are available now through the computer are way beyond what I could even describe. And even now to this point, I go back to my computer about twice a day and to get informed of what my family is doing, what my grandkids are involved in. What I foresee in the future is knowing more what I want to dig into, whether I want to get an answer pertaining to, as an example, how to change filters on a John Deere R diesel tractor, which I did just last week. So I guess what I'm looking for is what's the next stage. I guess what's available, information that was not even thinkable 10 years ago. You can find it there today.
It was very interesting to hear his perspective on a lot of those things. I was surprised by how much he's actually kind of kept up with a lot of what's going on in the world with mass media and communication. And it was interesting how each kind of new technology talked about how it was very novel and kind of rudimentary at the beginning, and then how it eventually became more of a standard part of his life. And then finally, I thought his last point about the access to information today, and hearing about his experiences with mass media, it made me realize how we take a lot of that for granted, just how much access we have to so much information online and now through AI and all the stuff like that. Overall, I think this project has helped me get a better understanding of how mass media has changed over the last many years, and how we are where we are today, and how people that are older have had such different experiences with media when they were younger.